This is a very special edition of Warrior Whispers. I'm going to share with you stories about a trip I took to Cherokee, North Carolina, and amazing people that I met there, all of whom I consider heroes. It was mid-November, very cold trip to North Carolina and the long weekend that I spent there. And one of the evenings, the northern lights were actually visible in the Appalachian Mountains. So this almost never happens. In order for you to see the northern lights, there has to be no clouds between wherever you are and the North Pole with really, really clear skies. I've only seen it once before. It was very rare up in Indiana. I was driving home with a buddy of mine from the airport on a very cold, clear night once again. And in the car, we could see a glare on the windshield that just wouldn't go away. It was weird. So we pulled off the side of the road, and sure enough, the sky was on fire. It was beautiful. Years later, I was in this quiet Cherokee tribal community in western North Carolina, and I completely missed them. But what I saw instead, I think, was perhaps even more beautiful. I was visiting the Eastern Band of the Cherokee Indians with a group of men and women whose hearts were larger you can imagine. They were on a charitable mission to cut firewood for elderly Cherokee living on the reservation. We just call ourselves the Woodcutters, hosted by a local United Methodist church. Now, this church, they actually began missionary work in Cherokee in 1823, so a very long history of helping the Cherokee. That was even before the Trail of Tears, and two of the missionaries, walked with the Cherokee during the infamous Trail of Tears. The church is still there. It didn't get built in 1823, but there are two bunkhouses that can sleep nearly 50 people, and they welcome service groups from around the country all the time. And let me be clear about something. The Cherokee Nation is alive. It is full of community. It is full of love. And it's still in need, like many communities. The list of volunteers I'm about to share is not comprehensive. Every single one of them could probably be their own story in Warrior Whispers. So perhaps it's a bit of disservice for me to lump them all into one, but I'm hopeful that this is such a powerful message that you listen to the very end. There was Doug. He's a retired businessman who's traveled multiple times to Burundi, one of the poorest and most war-torn countries in Africa. And he actually set up helping business incubator, helping local communities build businesses and pull themselves up out of poverty. There's Fred, a preacher who preached to us, and I swear this guy has a beeline directly to the Holy Spirit. This guy has seen things. He served in Vietnam. He served as a minister in South Sudan for several years, where there was tremendous amount of death, bloodshed. He told us stories about how he fled other locals into the woods away from warlords. He's fostered more than 30 children, planted churches, hope in this war-torn land. He has heart disease now, but whatever is wrong with his heart hadn't slowed it. He actually gave a sermon while we were there, and I took some notes because it was powerful. He asked, "What is your purpose?" Then he answered it. "We're called to elevate others. We're blessed not because we're perfect, but because blessing requires action. We are called to love, to provide hope, to feed the poor. What we do at the bottom ripples across the world. What we do inspires others. What happens in Cherokee connects South Sudan and connects to the rest of the world. God is a God of abundance, not scarcity, so he can make an infinite amount with just a little. So what we do, even if we think it's a little, it matters." What a powerful message. I had chills and tears hearing this man who had seen so much death be so optimistic. Then there was Danny, the organizer, quiet, steady, a giant in his own way, family deeply rooted in faith, his mother, who was considered the patron saint of their church and was ill at the time of the trip Danny and his brother came. Danny led without fanfare. He organized everything. He made sure every single person felt welcome and valued. That's a wonderful quality in any leader. Then there was Danny's brother, Harry. This guy's a real-life MacGyver. I mean, if something needs to be fixed, Harry can figure it out. He actually was telling a story about how he built a bridge literally from permitting process, found out what it needed to get state approval, and this bridge to a poor community so that emergency services could get there when somebody had an emergency. From design to implementation. Seriously. Then he told a story. In the mornings, we would have kind of storytelling with lessons, as you can imagine. He told a story about a man that was tasked to go help. You know, he's the MacGyver. A guy had a trailer with a bad roof, and he was tasked to go help fix the roof. But this guy that he was going to see, he was known for shooting at people, greet people with a gun. And so he was obviously a little bit fearful for his own life. This guy had fired warning shots before. And Harry admitted, man, what am I doing? I don't want to orphan my kids. But he started to work on the roof, and the man offered him coffee. He figured it's probably a good idea to accept. And the guy brought coffee up in this filthy, worn coffee mug. I ought to accept this gift, and so he did. Then he invited him in for lunch, sat at the table, very modest table, and they talked, and they formed a relationship, and they became friends. And so the lesson of that was, it's not just about giving, it's about receiving. It's about being in community with whoever it is that you're helping. And you know what? It may help you more than you're helping them. What a wonderful message. He had a prop of a dirty coffee cup because some lessons just need to be held. And then there were Micah and Jane, an elderly shrimp boat family who have literally donated hundreds to hungry people over the years. Seafood, of course. Micah, this dude, he's the first guy on the pile of logs. Built us when to leave. Not afraid of anything, and he was unbelievably effective with that chainsaw. They had more energy than people half their age. Then there was Peter, call himself addicted to missions. I don't know how many missions he went on, but he told me about a few of them. This was one. Full of love, always ready to share, to talk. But he also knew when to listen. And it was him, Peter, that was with me when we heard Miss Beanie sing that I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. Another one of the volunteers, Paul, he was there. I don't know how old he is, but he has a connective tissue disease. And I think he had a heart thing too. But he was there. He was there helping. He'd also been to South Sudan a couple times. And I just thought, man, it's the broken that do the most healing. And to me, all these people, they're the human fascia. They're the unseen connective tissue we have in our society holding humanity together. They're quiet, they're essential, they're strong. Then there were the Cherokee. They welcomed us into their homes. They welcomed us into their community with conversations and stories and fellowship. Mickey was the matriarch who cooked the meals while we were there. And she invited us into her house. And her house was remarkable because it was covered in photographs of family members I can't remember how many kids she had. I think it's 10, and each one of those has 6 or 8. So it's generations and generations of Cherokee family members. And the pictures are all on the wall with signs of live, laugh, love, and signs of all this because two people love each other. It was wallpapered with faces, smiling, laughing, watching. It felt like a sacred temple, not because of the ritual, but because so much love accumulated there. You have all these smiling faces projecting inward while you sit there and hold community with your family. And we were there holding community with them. Multiple generations in one place, all facing inward. Her son Bo helped coordinate the woodcutters, deliver the wood to the homes. He told us many stories about his daughter, Dre, who actually took a bike ride along the same Trail of Tears and told us the stories and what that meant to her. Apparently that's something that many of them do to remember. And he talked about his kids wrestling outside, and Nikki and Bo were just hitting on each other, making fun of each other nonstop. It was delightful. Told a story about a possum as a kid that they threw into McDonald's. It was hilariously funny. And let me tell you, that guy could swing an axe. He was faster with that axe by himself in cutting wood than a 3-man crew on a woodcutter. On another day, Peter and I visited Miss Beanie's house. Miss Beanie is a sister or cousin of Mickey. And Miss Beanie's in her 70s, living alone, but not alone. She has 11 kids. Her home had a playroom dedicated to young grandkids, great-grandkids, a kitchen that regularly hosts meals for laughter, connection, pictures on the walls just like Mickey's house. And she has a master's degree. She was a principal of a local elementary school. And so Miss Beanie shaped hundreds of young lives. She lost her husband years earlier, and she kept all of his poems. He had written books worth of religious poetry after finding Jesus, and they were all beautifully handwritten. So she shared them with us. I mean, what a treasure it was. What a treat it was. And then she told Peter and I that she sang and she wrote music. And so she wrote songs for her husband's poetry. So we asked if she would sing to us. And she sang to and it was beautiful. Long, gray, flowing hair. A beautiful on-pitch voice that was worn, but knew exactly where the notes were. And of course, Peter and I both had tears in our eyes. Here was a Cherokee educator on an Indian reservation singing religious songs she'd written from poetry of her late husband. The two white men who hardly deserved to be in that room. And yet, she shared that love with us. I would have loved to share it and have recorded this music. She probably would have allowed me, but I hope you can hear her song anyway. She sings for everyone, for the entire world, about forgiveness, love, compassion. The white man has taken so much from the Cherokee, and I'm a white man. Humbled, privileged, grateful to be welcomed into their homes. I hope you feel the community of love that is the Cherokee. I hope you remember them, visit them, support them, buy their beautiful, amazing, handmade work. So yes, I miss the Northern Lights, but what I saw instead was truly inspirational and beautiful. Filled my heart. I hope it fills yours.